Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So if you saw the feature match this week, you saw how this deck performed. Just really consistent, just the crazy amount of consistency that Blue Hybrid has. Now, we saw in the JP format, Blue Hybrid didn't really ever use Megas because it was particularly mostly just a stall deck with Korikakumon and Ice Wall until you could get enough cards in hand through all of the crazy amount of searching that it does to go into Susanoomon and win the game. That is not the case anymore because we no longer have Mega Digimon Fusion to allow that immediate drop of Susanoomon and swing in the same turn and go for game. Because of that, Blue is starting to develop a different way in the English format, and actually a very exciting way. We've got multiple different varieties of how to play Blue Hybrid. If you've seen my Azulongmon profile, it's kind of similar to this, but it's more focused on just controlling your opponent's board by continuously stunning them and removing inheritables until you can drop your Azulongmon instead of a Susanoomon, and the Azulongmon then will punch into security for an incredible amount of security checks. But this is MagnaGarurumon. This is a different beast entirely. We're still controlling the board. It's a little bit less focus on constantly stripping security or stripping inheritables and stunning. While we do still do that, we're also doing stuff like bouncing cards back to hand constantly. Every time your opponent puts something out, you just put it back in their hand. Just put it back in their hand repeatedly over and over, and then you just start punching for game once you can warp into your MagnaGururumon. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Don't forget, our memory marker for the month of February is going to be the Armor Egg of Friendship. So if you're a blue player watching this and you're ready for some Pyldramon or some Vmon Armor Digivolving, this is going to be a great memory marker for those decks. It's handmade out of clay by my wife and hand painted. Very cool memory marker. Really liking this one. Now, if you want any of our previous memory markers that we've had on the channel, check the coffee link in the description below. There you can get access to all the previous memory markers we've had on the channel. The benefit, though, of going through Patreon is that you get the featured memory marker of the month, usually for a better deal. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into this one. So for our eggs here, we're just running the Kyaromon. So just a little bit more consistency. Blue has a tremendous amount of consistency anyway, but you know, this is probably our best shot at an easy include, so let's go ahead and use it. The alternative would be Upamon, but I feel like with the incredible amount of Digivolution source trashing that you do in this deck, that this is honestly a pretty good target still over the Upamon. We have less targets or less abilities to strip sources in this deck as opposed to our Azulongmon variant, but there's still enough that I think this is still slightly better than the Upamon. And then the next, first up for our triple Strabimon lineup here, we've got the original here. I think this one's still the best one, arguably. We'll get to it though. So reveal 3, add 1 hybrid and or 1 blue tamer. So we get to add 2 things off of 1 on-play effect. That is great. That's what kind of makes this card my main focus, is the fact that we can add 2. 1 being a hybrid. Why that's important is because we're playing MagnaGururumon, which is a hybrid. It's not a 10 warriors like all the ancient level 5 or level 6s are. So we can actually add our Mega off of this original search card. So I really like that. We can't add anything like 10 warriors, so you know, no Susanoomons or anything like that. But we can add the MagnaGururumon, which is probably the most important thing that we could probably add off of this, next to, of course, a tamer. Next, let's go ahead and jump over to this last one here because it kind of falls in line with the other one as well. This one is out of the new Bt7, and it's on play. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, so a little bit better of a dig. Add 1 card with hybrid in its traits, Susanoomon or Koji among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. You only get to add 1. You get an extra reveal, so you get to pick from 4 cards, but you only add 1. Like, that feels, I don't know, a little like, unbalanced in a way compared to the previous one. But you can also add a Susanoomon, which is cool. But again, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, Susanoomon isn't necessarily our go-to end-all be-all boss monster. We do have it in the deck. It's there more for a utility thing rather than necessarily our main end goal. Okay, it's not our win con in this deck. And then Koji is also in this deck, but why play this one that's restricted to only Koji when we could play the other one that's any blue tamer? So I only have him in here just to talk about him. It comes down to which of these would you prefer to play more of. I personally like this new Strabimon, or this Bt7 Strabimon here, which has the inheritable of when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has hybrid or 10 warriors in its form or type, gain 1 memory. So anything that digivolves on top of this guy in this deck is going to be a hybrid. It's going to have hybrid, so you'll always gain 1 memory. And gaining memory in blue is great because we just extends our turn and allows us to do more and more things. Like if you saw in the feature match, that gaining 1 memory like literally almost won them the game. If they could have just gained 1 more memory through a hammer spark or anything else, or started their turn at 1 more memory, whatever the case may be, literally 1 memory can make or break a game. And gaining memory is great because you can warp into your MagnaGururumon, swing, put your opponent down to 0 security, and you just need 2 memory to evo one of your tamers or into a hybrid. And just extending your turns with these is great. However, that said, going back to the new one here, the inheritable of on deletion, you may play 1 Koji from your hand without paying its memory cost. I mean, that's pretty good for setting up the warp. But it's on deletion, inheritable. The issue with that is whatever digivolves on top of this guy, level 4, level 5, Beowolfmon, whatever it is, they're going to basically die. When it's security check or whatever, they're going to go to the trash. Then this triggers and plays out that Koji. Because how Koji works, you need your hand to have all your hybrid resources. So if you're swinging in with these guys and they're dying, and they're going to trash, you're not putting enough resources back in hand. So I don't like how this one interacts. This on red is great because theirs is on deletion, play 1 Takuya. Red likes filling up their trash. Yeah, let me just this whole Evo line is gonna die. I'm gonna put 3 hybrids in trash and then play a Koji for free. Cool, awesome. Yeah, that seems really good for blue. It doesn't quite work out the same as it does in red, I don't think. So ultimately, dropping him and then just running this Strabimon at 3 of, I think is the better way to go. You could just run all 3, find cuts where you want and add it back in. But the deck is actually kind of tight, so I didn't really want to bother. Next is our memory blocker. I think memory blockers are great. I've been harping on it in a lot of my other profiles, but if you haven't seen, basically the concept is blue is still gaining tons of memory. Okay, we've still got Hammer Spark. We've still got 1 Ice Wall, which in security, gains memory. Having a memory blocker on field against blue is still, as always, incredibly powerful. Okay, it's still just as powerful as it was before, but now we've also got to deal with cards like Bokomon, and Bokomon is insane. So anytime a tamer digivolves into a hybrid, that player gains 2 memory. Basically makes all level 4 hybrid evos on tamers free. Okay, that's insanely powerful. Every time they digivolve, well, once per turn, but still, that's tremendous value. So you have to turn off Bokomon's ASAP. So we're absolutely running at least 2 of this guy. In other profiles where I can get away with running more memory blockers, I absolutely do. But again, this deck is so tight, I can only fit in 2. And then speaking of Bokomon, we have him here. So 3 play cost, rookie, 2000 DP. On play, reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add 1 card with hybrid, 10 warriors, and 1 tamer, and put the rest to the bottom. So that's pretty standard. A 3 play cost rookie, reveal 5, add 2. Like, that's really good value. Anytime you have that particular searcher, that's probably the best you're going to get, is reveal 5, add 2. it's not, you can't add any combination of those. Like something like a Huckmon is really great, because if you want 2 Sistermons, you can grab 2 Sistermons. You know, you want 2 Jessmons, or you can grab 2 Jessmons, you know. This one is, it has to be 1 Tamer, and then 1 of the other 2. So, but still, in a hybrid deck, and with all those Tamers, you'll still probably want to do that anyways, so it's okay. But the real main big factor here is the fact that your turn, once per turn, when your Tamer Digivolves, gain 2 memory. Like, busted. You have this guy out, you just get so much value. So you go second, your opponent will probably put you to 3 in this format. It's pretty common to get put at 3, just because of all the Tamers. You're going to hard play this Bokomon, do your search, then hard play a Tamer, right, to pass turn back to your opponent. It comes back to you, you get to just immediately start going off. Play that, or Evo that Tamer for free, and then go into whatever level 5 you've got for 1 Evo. You know, just the value is through the roof with Bokomon. Next up, we got Kumamon here, which is, he's all right. He's okay out of all our level 4 hybrids that we've got for blue. At least he has an effect, which is 1 step above the former of his brethren here. But you may Digivolve this card on top of one of your Hamers, as if it was a level 3 Digimon, of course. But when Digivolving, trash 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. Again, trashing sources is really great for our baby, because our baby, every time a source is trashed, we get to draw a card. So that's really good. And then it just kind of helps facilitate the stun, okay? And what I mean by the stun is the Korikakumon here. So his thing is, he's also a level 4 that can Digivolve for 2 cost onto a hybrid. Or we can go 1 cost on top of another level 4. So you can go on top of that Kumamon that just stripped that source, and for 1 Evo cost. And then when Digivolving, if a card of hybrid in its trait or Tommy is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block until the end of their next turn. So you just stun them that turn that they can't block, or they can't attack you on the following turn, you know, whatever the case may be. That's really, really great. That is one of these things that makes blue hybrid extremely strong, is because of this Korikakumon just being able to stun like round after round. So, and also when you use cards that return him to hand, such as like a Beowolfmon or a MagnaGarurumon, we'll get into those, but they have the ability to put him back to hand. So you can just keep using him repeatedly. So just keep playing him on top of Tamers or on top of other hybrids. So great stuff. He can Digivolve on top of rookies for a play cost of 3. It is a little steep, but he still triggers his effect, which is really important. So as long as you're going on top of these Strabimon here, they're both hybrids, you can still get his stun effect. And that's, again, really important that you can do it that way as well and get that. So if your opponent has like a memory fixer on field, it doesn't really matter anyway how much memory you're going to give them, because they're going to be at that 3 anyway. So if you need to Digivolve into this guy for 3, it's okay. It does come up. Trust me, it does come up. But yeah, he's great. He's one of the best cards in the deck. Part of the reason why he's often the mascot for Blue Hybrid is because he's like the main focus of it. Next, we got Beowolfmon. This is like the best level 5 that you can really have in Blue Hybrid right now. So when you Digivolve into this guy, if there is a Tamer in the Digivolution source, which there should be, both of our level 4s here are hybrids, so you'll most of the time want to go on top of a Tamer with them, but not always. Like I said, we do have this Strabimon that is fantastic. But you know, in the cases where you're going on top of a Tamer, he's really good because that turns him into a 1 Evo cost, reduces the Digivolution cost by 2, so it gets around memory blockers. So when your opponent goes for that memory blocker, you know, this guy can completely dodge it and just reduce his memory, his Evo cost instead. But then when attacking, you may return 1 Digimon card of hybrid in its form from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to hand to return 1 of your opponent's level 4 or lower to your opponent's hand. So what's really nice about Beowolfmon is if you bounce a level 3 hybrid to hand, you can bounce a level 4 of your opponent's to back to hand. Whereas we'll get into MagnaGururumon. MagnaGururumon is whatever you bounce to hand, you have to bounce an equal level back. Beowolfmon is just a blanket level 4 or lower. As long as you return a hybrid to hand, you can bounce whatever. So he's great. So between the stuns on the Korikakumons and the Beowolfmon just returning things back to hand. It's incredibly powerful. And there's no stipulation on this. So it's not like if they have no Digivolution cards, you can bounce it to hand. No, if they have Digivolution cards, you can still bounce that sucker back to hand. That's what makes Beowolfmon like a great combination in this deck. It's like, oh crap, I can't bounce, or I can't stun that. Well, you know what? I can bounce it back to hand with Beowolfmon. So Beowolfmon, great card. Absolutely love it. That's what I really like, is the versatility. I'm all about versatility. The best decks in the game are the decks that are the most versatile. They don't need a very specific Evo chain to get this very specific OTK combo off. You know, we're not playing green OTK in BT4 anymore, where we had to have our Palmon. You know, it's not like that anymore. We can just kind of do whatever, and it always works. That's what's great. It always works. It doesn't matter what Evo chain you do, the deck works, and that's so boss. So MagnaGururumon, though, when digivolving and when attacking, once per turn, you may return one card with hybrid in its trait from this Digimon Digivolution cards to your hand to return one of your opponent's Digimon with the same level as the returned card to your owner's hand. Trash all sources. So you Digivolve into this guy, you bounce one of your sources back to hand, bounce one of their Digimon back to hand. When you attack, you do it again. It's once per turn, but also your turn once per turn. When an effect adds a card to your hand, you may unsuspend one of your Digimon. So what's great about this is you don't actually have to just use that on himself. Like typically you do, because he's a nice 12,000 DP. But you can actually use this to unsuspend one of your other Digimon. It is once per turn though, so you know that is a factor. So it doesn't matter too much, but it is something to consider. Most time you're just going to use it on himself though. So when he attacks, you just immediately unsuspend him again. Really, really good stuff there. So it allows for multiple swings, similar to like a Bond's Gabumon, where we're getting those multiple swings in. Still only going to be 2 swings, but not. It's still really solid because you're getting such good control out of it. So very, very similar to Bonds. I think it's just a little bit better because Bonds, man, trashing 2 of your own security sucks, okay? And especially in a world where there's no more 4 of ice walls, trashing 2 security of yourself and not having like an ice wall to slow your opponent down after you do that is really, really rough. So MagnaGururumon just seems like the better choice now. Next, we've got Susanoomon as a 2 of. He's just not. We've already discussed why he's gone down. He's not as powerful without Mega Digimon Fusion. But that said, what's really nice about Blue is that he fits in great with this one because once all of our Digivolution sources go to trash, you know, they're out of rotation for us. We're not like other colors that can, you know, put them like red that can then bring them back and use those that are in trash as you know, sources. Same for like purple, being able to play all their stuff back from trash really easy or add it back from trash. Blue, once they're in trash, that's it. They're done. So Susanoomon being able to put them back into the deck and put them back in rotation is really good. And then when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. So he's just a nice 7-cost Evo, delete a Digimon. I mean, Blue doesn't have anything like that, okay? We don't have a Gaia Force. We have Kakaitis Breath that puts it back in hand so they get to use it again on us next turn. Like, that sucks, okay? I hate Kakaitis Breath, okay? If you followed my channel for any kind of period, you should probably realize by now that I hate Kakaitis Breath. I've liked Rattlestar. Rattlestar, putting it to the bottom of the deck is great. Most of the time, every opponent I've ever played at least puts 3 Digimon out anyways, so I can target anything I want. So Rattlestar has always been fine for me. But yeah, that's beside the point. Susanoomon, very cool. Being able to just delete anything we want. 7 Evo. We can do it warp him on top of a Tamer, or we can just Digivolve him on top of a Mega like normal, like a normal level 7, and we still get that pop effect. Now, what's really also great about him is he has security attack +2. So he's doing 3 security checks every single turn with 15,000 DP. He's pretty much clearing everything in the meta in this format. That's good, okay? Your opponent sees this, boom, deletes one of their Digimon on field. It's now their turn. They now have to put tons of effort into removing this guy off the board, or else he is going to start steamrolling them on the following turn. They have to deal with Susanoomon immediately, or they have to try to rush and potentially try to win. Hopefully they don't overextend, because if they can't actually pull off the win, they've overextended now, and they've burned too many resources, and now they're just going to lose because they overextended. They hit too many tamers in security, and now the opponent has all the tamers in the world they need. They've cleared their whole field, whatever the case may be. They hit into a Hammer Spark in security, and it passed their turn. Oh God, heaven forbid! And then they can't deal with a Susanoomon because the Hammer Spark passed their turn. And then now that Susanoomon just goes off, they have to basically focus immediately on clearing the Susanoomon, or pray that they can immediately win. Because Susanoomon is just such a massive threat. And even if they do just immediately remove him off the field, they basically have to spend their turn, all their resources, into a single card. You played a single card, and your opponent has to burn either an equally amount of memory to remove him with something like a Wyvern's Breath or a Gaia Force, or they're going to have to use multiple cards, like say something like a Shine Greymon. It's going to have to, Evo up into a Shine, get enough Tamers on field, and then go into the Shine to nuke this Susanoomon. 15,000 is even a lot for Susano or for Shine. That's 4 Tamers that he needs on field, and potentially a 5th if they have to Evo all the way up into the Shine. That's a lot. Okay, that's asking a whole lot for sure. So Susanoomon's still a good card. But next card up, we got the 1-of Ice Wall. Ice Wall is still a good card, even at a 1-of. You just can't just blast it off like, oh, got an Ice Wall, let me play it. Oh, got an Ice Wall, let me play it. You got to play it for when it really matters. Like, I can win next turn, but I need my opponent not to kill me on their turn, their coming up turn. So you play that Ice Wall. Your opponent has a Memory Fixer. They go to 3, right? They've got 2 Tamers on field. They evo into a hybrid, and then they swing. That swing is going to pass their turn immediately, so they can't warp Digivolve into an Emperor Greymon, because we haven't seen that, right? And warp Digivolve into the Emperor Greymon and blitz for game. So that Ice Wall will basically pass the turn back to you, and then you can actually take the game. As well as, it's like a 5th Hammer Spark in security. They both have the same effect here of security, gain 2 memory. So just a 5th potential Hammer Spark sitting in security for your opponent to have to worry about. Absolutely. I mean, I would play it just for that at this point. But yeah, the first effect is still phenomenal. Even at a 1-of, I'll absolutely play it. And then, of course, Hammer Spark, I talked about it in the Zulongmon profile, but we noticed that as when we got the memory boost cards, a lot of the players fell off of Hammer Spark. They stopped using it. They started using more Howling and more blue memory boost and more Ice Walls. But as the EX1 progressed, the Hammer Spark usage went up and up and up, and now we're back to 4-of. I think that people just really miss this card. Just immediately play it, gain 1 memory. I was at 1 memory, now I'm at 2 memory. I evo on top of my Tamer, boom, I swing for game. There's so much value in Hammer Spark. It's such an underrated card for a long time. I think it's back to where it's. I would say it's overrated, but it's back to where it was in the early days of Digimon, where Blue's got Hammer Spark. Oh crap, Hammer Spark's a great card. Absolutely love it. Speaking of Howling Memory Boost, I am running it at 4-of in this deck. I would say this is a flex spot. In the Zulongmon variant, it was like a must-of at 4-of. It played into that deck so well, into that variant, where we really wanted to strip Digivolution sources. Little less so now, but I think it's still solid. It's still a good stun, so trash 2 sources, and then target 1 of your opponent's Digimon with no sources, and they can't attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn. So doing the same thing that Korikakumon is doing, but in an option card format. So that's great. He's actually kind of like a Tommy and a Korikakumon in one, because he trashes sources and then stuns. And then he has a delay gain 2. So just a cool card. I really like it. If you're not playing any sort of defensive cards, I think Howling, you have to go with Howling. We don't have any blockers, okay? We have 1 Ice Wall, people. We have 1 Ice Wall. If there was more Ice Walls, you could argue dropping Howling Memory Boost. But this is our defense. This is literally the only thing that's going to keep us in the game. It doesn't deal with hybrids, or it doesn't deal with tamers specifically, I should say, but it deals with everything else pretty well. So 4 of as our main defense card of the deck. And then next we got Tommy, which we've kind of talked about on and off a little bit here. Security, get a plane for free, but on play, trash 3 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. That's going to hit most things. In hybrid format, all megas are pretty much going to have only 3 Digivolution sources underneath them. So one Tommy is going to clear all the Digivolution sources of 1 mega. And then you could immediately go into a Korikakumon and stun that mega. So very, very good value there. And then the Inheritable is actually really cool because it's the same effect, but it's when attacking. So when attacking, until the end of your opponent's next turn, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block. So you can use the Kumamon to go on top of this Tommy, and that Kumamon's going to trash only 1 Digivolution source. Not the best, right? But if you attack with that Kumamon, you can then trigger the Tommy. One of my favorite plays is go Korikakumon on top of Tommy, stun something, immediately swing with that Korikakumon, stun something else. Ooh, that's so good. So between the Korikakus, the Tommies, and the Howlings, we're doing really well on the lock. Okay, we're just locking our opponent down, and then getting into all of our sources. We need 5 hybrids in hand to go into our MagnaGururumon. Next, we got Davis. Davis is still just the best memory fixer in blue, almost in the game. It's tough. It's tough. It's a little bit less so because there's so many search cards now. And when he came out in BT3, though, absolutely he was the best tamer in the game. On play, reveal 3, add 1 blue and 1 green Digimon to hand. Oh, it's so good. Coming up in the days of duo color Digimon, again, oh my god, that's going to be even more insane value back on Davis. Great card. If you've seen his TCG price, I don't know if it's going to be reflected here. Yeah, $13. I looked at this guy a month ago. He was $8. He doesn't have a reprint, and he's so important. It just blows my mind that we haven't got a reprint of him, and he's so important, especially going into the Vmon era in BT8. He's gonna be like a $25 rare by the time we get to that point. Absolutely absurd. And he's, of course, our memory fixer for the deck. At a 3 of, very solid. Sometimes, you debate running 4, but 3 is still pretty solid where we're at. Next, we got Koji. I've only got Koji in here at a 3 of, because we don't have to warp into him. We can still, go MagnaGururumon on top of, level 5 like normal. Or we can warp into him, but we also need all those resources in hand. So if you get too many Kojis too early on, before you have the necessary resources, it's kind of pointless. So just at a 3 of felt fine. Security playing for free, of course. Then main, we've said it a number of times, but you may place 5 cards with hybrid in their traits from your hand under this tamer in any order to digivolve it into a MagnaGururumon in your hand for its Digivolution cost, as if this tamer was a level 5 blue Digimon. So yeah, you just warp up into your MagnaGururumon. You place 5 hybrids. That's it. So pretty great. Doesn't get deleted at the end of the turn. Don't have to clear your own security to do it. You get a warp into your mega. Awesome. Cool. I've got to use some hand resources, but the hand resources I use, literally, he immediately refunds them back to your hand. So who cares? It's almost essentially you only had to use 3 cards in hand. Okay, that's not a big deal, especially mid-game when this basically becomes live. Yeah, that's fine. I'll have, 15 cards in my hand by then. I'm not worried about it. But the Inheritable also is actually extremely important. Your turn, once per turn, when an effect adds a card to your hand, gain 1 memory. Then this Digimon can't be blocked for the turn. The blocked could matter. I think for the most part, this format doesn't really use blockers. Even the black decks that are really popular aren't really running blockers either. So you know, it's cool that it's there, but not a must. But, you know, do remember it because it could definitely come up. But the gain 1 memory is important. With a memory fixer on your field, this is still a 4 Evo cost MagnaGururumon. But his when Digivolving ability immediately triggers, you return a hybrid to hand. That's going to immediately trigger your inheritable on Koji to gain 1 memory. So it essentially makes this a 3 Evo cost. That's so important, okay? Gaining that memory back to keep it on your turn. Then you can immediately attack, all that fun stuff. So this inheritable is so crucial. And there you go. There's a zoomed out version of the deck, just if you want to take a screenshot or whatever the case may be. Yeah, the only really things to talk about, just or retouch on, was, you know, the Howling Memory Boost. You could maybe argue dropping down a little bit, but again, that is your only defense. Besides Ice Wall, that is it. You can maybe argue actually even dropping the Susanoomons entirely, but also that's your like only big removal. Okay, that's your only big like easy access, well, easy-ish access removal card. So, you know, keep that in mind as well. It could be kind of crucial. The Betamon here, also pretty good. The alternate Strabimon is something you could consider. I don't think it's worth it, though, because the search isn't as good as the old Strabimon search. The old Strabimon being able to add any blue tamer and a hybrid instead of just 1 card, being able to add 2 cards is so much better. And that old one, the inheritable of on deletion, just the fact that you have to have it deleted to be able to play that Koji for free feels so bad when you need all the hybrids in hand that you can get. If I can't bounce any hybrids back to hand, like with a Beowolfmon or whatever, you know, is it even worth it? I don't know. But the Strabimon inheritable here is really good of that gaining memory when attacking. You know, that comes up a little bit more often than you would think, honestly.